arriving at the beach late. Even though I ostensibly got off work early today, I was just doing one thing after another. Had a very good productive day. Really good long meeting with my counterpart from the vendor on the project side. And I did some really good alignment. Now that's a good sign of a healthy project when the project leads are in agreement about status, scope, budget, schedule, and we are. We also are in agreement about what the tricky parts of the project are and how we're going to address that. I didn't get to do any work today during my lunch break on the AI project. That's all right. It's a Wabi-Sabi day after all. Wabi-Sabi means defined by plans realized by the reality of things, however those really might be. Usually not like the plans. Okay. Let's go for a swim. Gotta be a quick one tonight. Yumiko's, since I got a late start, can't stay and read because I want to get home and take the dogs for a walk on time, etc., etc. Boop, boop, boop. It's a Wabi-Sabi day. This is my Wabi-Sabi way. Look at all the fish. Isn't that cool? It's a Wabi-Sabi day. It's cool, cold. Not cool like kakkoi, cool like suzushi. Hi. Boom, boom, boom. Hachigato boom. お池の周りにお花が咲いたよ。ブンブンブン。8月ブン。Hey. So, I was so cold after yesterday's swim and long lay on the beach in the wind. When I got home, it took a long time to warm up. Yumiko was teasing me during our walk, saying it would be nice to have a Japanese onsen dip. And we remembered our time in the onsen at Atami when we were there. In our 3:30 a.m. climb up the stairs to the 24-hour onsen. Good time, good memory. Boom, boom, boom. Hachigato boom. Oike no mawari ni ohana ga咲いたよ. Boom, boom, boom. Hachigato boom. Oike no mawari ni ohana ga boom. Got the boom. I don't see Angela yet. She should be down pretty soon. Saw her last night. I'm just gonna make a quick dip in the water and then get out. Just hang out for a little bit, do my stretching, my workout, and then head out and go home. Oh, Gary's coming, of all things. Hard to believe. Emily's friend, co-worker from Japan, is going to visit America. That should be nice for them. Have friends. In the meantime, I will say, boom, 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 hachigato boom, koike no mawari ni yo hana ga saita yo, boom, 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 hachigato boom, saita, saita, tulip no hana ga naranda, naranda, akka, shiro, kiro. どの花見ても綺麗だな咲いた咲いたチューリップの花が並んだ並んだ赤白黄色どの花見ても綺麗だなどの花Wow, the tide's low. Hey, comment. Such a big beach and the sun crazy. Yeah, it is. Hi, Sayan Yan. Your name is familiar to me. Okay, here we go. Time to go for a lovely little swim. As they say, the Saita-san. Saita, Saita, tulipu no hana ga naranda, naranda, akka, shiro, kiro, dono hana mite mo kirei da na. It's a Wabi-Sabi day, do-da. It's a Wabi-Sabi day, oh, do-da day. It's a Wabi-Sabi day. All right, time for my swim. It's time for my swim. A Wabi-Sabi swim in the Wabi-Sabi day. These are my fins, and that is the sea. And I'm gonna jump in there and go swim for a little now. It's always hard to jump in first because it's cold, especially now here at the end of October. It's very, very chilly and hesitant to jump in. But I always am glad that when I do. So it's a little scary out there too. Okay, I'm gonna be out there. If I don't come back, it's been a good life. Is it a good day today? Are my affairs in order? Yes. Are my relationships sound? Yes. Is my life's work done? Absolutely. Yeah, it's a fine day today. And it's also a great day to capitalize and make the good use of life. It would be a waste to stand by idly in fear here on the shore. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go in. Peace. Okay. Let's resume Boswell's presumptuous task. He might save money by going there. He reluctantly decided that his two eldest daughters should accompany him. In London, they were in danger. In Scotland, they might find more suitable society, perhaps even husbands. On the 26th of June, the Boswell party left London, arriving at Auchinleck 5 days later. Sandy was walking in the park when he saw them approach, and he came running and greeted them on the green behind the house. He was now quite the young Scots gentleman, keen on shooting and horse racing, with a loud familiarity of manner and a very broad pronunciation which he had acquired by being so long in Scotland and of so much of late among his inferiors. He referred to his father as the old man. For a while, the two girls put on airs, affecting to look down on rural pursuits while talking wild nonsense about London. But soon they were caught up in the whirl of visiting and entertaining, house parties, fetes and balls, gadding about with their brother and flirting with officers of the 4th Dragoons, conveniently stationed nearby at Kilmarnock. Boswell passed the summer idly. He took no pleasure from entertaining and found that he had little inclination to visit friends and neighbors. He admitted that he was heartily weary. He tried to read, but could not summon up the energy even for that. He dealt with the necessary estate business, but without much relish. I am continuously fretted by hearing of trespasses upon my woods and lands, and tenants falling behind in their rents. The responsibilities he avoided in London were all too obvious here in Scotland. How hard it is that I do not enjoy this fine place, he wrote to his brother. He sent regular letters to his younger son, James, his favorite, who had remained in London. In these he rarely failed to mention his visionary, pleasing hope that I may obtain some preferment of consequence. He had promised to remain in Scotland until Christmas, but as he admitted in a letter to James on the 6th of October, the time till Christmas seems very, very long. James, then just 16 years old, tried to rally his father. "Pray, sir, do not suffer yourself to be melancholy. Think not of your having missed preferment in London or any of these kind of things, the unreasonableness of which you yourself upon reflection must be sensible of if you consider that your manner of living has never been that of a man of business, and that, in short, you have been entirely different in every respect from those who have been in that line more successful. They who have obtained places and pensions, etc., have not the fame of having been the biographer of Johnson, or the conscious exhalation of a man of genius." Wow, his son knows his dad. "They have not enjoyed your happy and convivial hours. They have not been known to Johnson, Voltaire, Rousseau, and Garrick, Goldsmith, etc., etc. They have not visited the patriots of Corsica. In short, would you rather than have enjoyed so many advantages have been a rich, though dull, plodding lawyer? You cannot expect to be both at the same time." Well put, young Johnson, Boswell. Well put. But Boswell had sung the same refrain so long that he was incapable of learning any other. He promised James that he would try to avoid repining. Yet at the same time, I cannot be contented merely with literary fame and social enjoyments. I must still hope for some creditable employment, and perhaps I may yet attain it. His resilience was beginning to fail. In mid-November, he sent a pathetic letter to Malone. "If I have been of consequence enough to you in my absence to make you think of me, you may possibly have wondered that you have not heard from me." It was an odd letter, written in a jerky style, not at all his usual confident prose. "I have little more business to transact here. Little more business to transact here," he wrote to Malone. "But why go to London? What have I to do there? I can see no prospect in life but a thick fog. could I but recover those pleasing delusions which braced my nerves when I first entered Westminster Hall. In short, could I have any object? Could I have any object? He concluded with a touching message of gratitude that sounded almost like a farewell. My dear Malone, in whatever state I am, I never forget your kindness to me and the innumerable moments of happiness which I owe to you. And I am ever, with an unalterable regard, your obliged, affectionate, and faithful friend. He began to write a song, but abandoned it after only 2 lines. 'Tis o'er, the dream is o'er, and life's delusion is no more. Boswell remained in Scotland until the new year and returned to London in the middle of January. He was delighted to be back after enduring Auschwitz for 6 months. He seemed to feel himself entitled to some indulgence. The intellectual luxury of London, after so long an absence from it, has no doubt occupied me much, or dissipated me so much. I believe I should rather say, he wrote to Sandy, that I have not been able to settle either to read or write with composure. But wine has had its share in its effect. His drinking now accelerated as he hurtled towards the abyss. Oh no. On 14th of April, 1795, at a meeting of the club, Boswell was taken ill with fever, shivering, headache, and vomiting. His kidneys had failed under the strain. The fever grew more alarming, and he became very weak. He was unable to keep down his food. Moreover, 19 episodes of gonorrhea had taken their toll. A swelling in his bladder was revealed as a tumor. He remained in bed a month, at home in Great Portland Street, tended by his brother and his son James. Early in the morning of 19th of May, he died on my birthday. He died. He was 54, just 1 year older than Johnson had been when the 2 men met for the first time. His body was taken to Auschwitz, where it was interred in the family vault. There's the end of Boswell. So the next chapter is called Posterity. I tried to soothe myself with the consideration of my fame as a writer. That's what Boswell wrote here. Or that's a piece of his writing that was pulled off after this. Before he died, Boswell had begun preparing a new edition of The Life of Johnson, annotating a copy of the 2nd edition. But just take a little moment to reflect. What a sad ending, huh? He spent his whole life aspiring to something great, wound up his greatness being that he was illuminated by the greatness of another, of Samuel Johnson, of which I'm sure he had no small regard, that was a great thing to be if you're going to be known for anything. Although he did indeed make a tremendous mark with his biography, which has endured as a great biography. He didn't know that at the time. Nor would he understand that the relationship that he kept with Johnson, that he established with Johnson and maintained through their life together, would become something also. Like Laurel and Hardy, or Scotch on the Rocks, or Gin and Tonic, whatever, 2 things that you can't imagine them. I can't imagine Johnson without Boswell. I certainly can't imagine Boswell without Johnson. Boswell probably would have never been amounted to much of anything. In fact, he wouldn't have been even a boring lawyer if it hadn't been for Johnson. Johnson was the catalyst for everything he did that was great, in many ways, or great and so regarded. Before he died, Boswell had begun preparing a new edition of The Life of Johnson, annotating a copy of the 2nd edition and indicating where addenda should be placed in the text of the 3rd. Malone took over where Boswell left off. His conservative approach to the task reflected his habitual respect of an author's intentions. 3 years after Boswell's death, Malone received a letter from one of his fellow executors,
Sir William Forbes, urging him, as Forbes had previously urged Boswell himself, to consider omissions from the next edition, on the principle that an author ought scrupulously to take care not to say anything that could prove injurious to the reputation of any person dead, or that could hurt the feelings of anyone living. He cited the example of Percy as one whose feelings had been hurt by Boswell's book. Malone's response was robust. Changes of this nature were clearly unwarranted now that the author was dead. He claimed that the friendship between Boswell and Percy had been renewed as a result of revisions Boswell had made to the second edition. In fact, a letter of Percy's, presumably not seen by Malone, written on the very day that Forbes wrote to Malone, makes it obvious that he was still smarting from the sting of reading Boswell's book. The third edition was published in 4 octavo volumes on the 18th of May, 1799, priced at £1 8 shillings. This made a much more satisfactory book than its predecessor. Order replaced the chaos of the second edition. The index now found its conventional place at the end. As well as being responsible for Boswell's published work, Forbes and Malone, together with Temple, the third literary executor, were charged with deciding what to do with Boswell's enormous collection of papers. This comprised thousands of letters, not just Boswell's own correspondence, which was extensive enough, but also the many other letters that Boswell had accumulated by one means or another. Particularly letters to and from Johnson. Drafts, manuscripts, and proofs of Boswell's published and projected works, and of other men's works, including the proof sheets of Johnson's Lives of the Poets, and Boswell's notebooks and journals, 8,000 pages of them. In his will, Boswell left it to the discretion of the 3 literary executors to decide how much, if any, of this collection might be published, adding a latter codicil expressing his wish that Malone should not divulge anything which ought to be concealed. In his journal itself, he had worried that its publication after his death might hurt his children. Imagine he was concerned about that after his seeming lack of concern about his own publication of people's lives. The literary executors were widely scattered, Malone being in London, Temple in Cornwall, and Forbes in Scotland. The 3 of them were unable to meet before Temple died in 1796, only a year after Boswell, though Temple had discussed the issues involved with both Malone and Langton in London the previous year. Malone inspected the papers remaining in London and then sent them up to Forbes, who had already received a mass of papers from Auchlick. There was nothing in them fit for publication, felt Malone, with the possible exception of Boswell's extremely curious journals. These, he thought, might someday be made into a book, as they have been. Though they would certainly need careful editing, for in the freedom of his heart he put down many things both of himself and others that should not appear. Malone and Forbes agreed that no decision about the journal should be made for 10 years or so until Boswell's son James had finished his education. He would then be able to make a selection of what was fit to publish from them himself. Such a delicate task was best entrusted to a member of the family. That's sensitive. Sandy, Boswell's heir, inherited the Auchlick estate as entailed by Lord Auchlick and under the terms of Boswell's will. And under the terms of Boswell's will, he also inherited those lands purchased by his father. These were encumbered with the debts that Boswell had incurred to buy the land in the first place. And when they were added to Boswell's other borrowings and the bequests due to members of the family, Sandy found that he was due to pay out over £10,000. The unentailed property was sold. Boswell's struggle to expand the estate had been in vain. Sandy would make many of the same mistakes as his father. He too would purchase large tracts of land with borrowed money, so that by the time of his own death, he would be hopelessly insolvent. Boswell's second son, the studious James, was 16 when his father died. After completing his education at Brasenose College, Oxford, he settled in London, becoming a close friend and protege of Malone's. He remained a bachelor, devoted to his books. In time, he became a considerable scholar. His eldest sister, Veronica, survived her father by only 4 months, succumbing to consumption, the same scourge which had carried away her mother and most of Margaret's family. Boswell's second daughter, Euphemia, quickly ran through her inheritance. Her subsequent behavior was a trial to her relations, to Sandy in particular as head of the family. She sent begging letters to prominent persons and succeeded in soliciting £50 from no less a person than His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales. She even advertised in the newspapers for charity. For a while, she lived in London, where she wrote operas, which were never performed. Fanny Burney described her as dreadfully distressed and really crazy. Eventually, she was placed in a lunatic asylum, where she remained 19 years. She was discharged a year before her death in 1737. Boswell's youngest daughter, Elizabeth, married the advocate William Boswell, son of Boswell's cousin, Robert. Sandy and his wife felt this was to be an unsuitable connection and shunned Elizabeth and her family thereafter. Under the terms of Boswell's will, the copyright to his work passed to James and his 3 sisters, and on their behalf, Forbes sold the copyright in the life of Johnson to the publishers Cadell and Davies for the modest sum of £300. What? In due course, the 4th and 5th and 6th editions appeared, supervised by Malone with assistance from James. These two began the practice of including in the text letters from Johnson that had been unavailable to Boswell. The book continued to sell steadily. The 4th edition, for example, sold 4,000 sets at a price of £1,165, £1.16 each. Though the life of Johnson was increasingly praised, its author was not. Stories of Boswell's absurd behavior circulated wildly. The name Boswell could barely be mentioned without a smile. Anecdotes of his follies dotted the memories of the period. The very success of the life of Johnson proved an embarrassment to the Boswell family. Readers of the Romantic era in literature admired the heroic figure that Boswell had so vividly evoked, but despised its humble attendant. His heir was said to be ashamed of his father's book, and to hate its being mentioned. Wow. Perhaps this was an exaggeration, but there can be little doubt that his father's notoriety caused Sandy pain. Sir Walter Scott remarked that Boswell's book, though one of the most entertaining in the world, is not just what one would wish a near relation to have written. As a neighbor, moreover, as a Scotsman of a similar social standing, Scott was in a position to judge how Sandy felt. Even as a schoolboy at Eton, Sandy had been teased about reports of Boswell's buffoonery. For a proud laird to be continually reminded that his father had abased himself before an uncouth Englishman, one who moreover delighted in baiting the Scots, was hard to bear. Sandy loved his father and admired his work, but he hated the thought that Boswell had been laughed at by London society and lampooned time and again in print. He wanted to reclaim the respect attached to the name of Boswell in the time of his grandfather. He was therefore reluctant to countenance any further investigation of his father's journals, which were known to be damagingly indiscreet. He made little or no effort to ensure the return of the papers to Sir William Forbes' possession, and when several trunkloads of these arrived back at Auschwitz after Sir William's death in 1806, he failed to register that a large quantity had been overlooked. A rumor spread that Boswell's papers had been burned after his death, and the family did nothing to discourage the story. Reynolds' portraits of Johnson was banished to the attic of Auschwitz and eventually sold for much less than was hoped. Malone died in 1812, and afterwards James shouldered the task of editing his Shakespeare, just as Malone had taken on the task of editing Boswell's Life of Johnson, thus repaying in the next generation some of the debt incurred by his father. Great stuff. I had no idea all these details happened. I had no idea the reputation of Boswell had been so slim, and failing, and an embarrassment to his heirs, no less. Who knew? Who, dear sir, knew what the Wabi-Sabi of the 18th century literary world in London, in Scotland, at large? the best time of the day.
Hey, there's Angela. That's her blue tent there. I'll wave at her as we go past. Getting in the ocean like that is like a supercharging experience. It just blasts me with goodness. Whew. Boy, this week really turned around. It started off sucky and turned around pretty good. And it's time for me to really get busy with a lot of stuff. I really need to start getting ready to get the hell out of America. Oh God, I'm ready to go. I think I've had enough of America. I think I spent too much time away, and I lost my Americanness. I just don't fit here anymore. Let's go up the stairs. There's the pier over there. That's gonna get run over. Over this train. That was good. There's the lifeguard zipping along. Wabi-Sabi day. Oh, there's that guy and his dog. I see him here all the time. Is that cool? The dog's always so cocky on the back there. That's a cool dog.
American school bus, huh? Huntington Beach Union High School District. Bunch of cheerleaders on there. Looks like, yeah. A bus full of cheerleaders. Will you take? That's a nice little place right there. They got a hell of a house. Will you take me to a dance? Will you take me to a dance? Declare the very young me. Your traffic is so different from here in England, is it? How does it differ from England? Well, I mean, I've been to England, so I guess I should know. England reminds me, well, at least London traffic reminds me more like Boston, you know, big city traffic. And it's not like LA traffic, for sure. LA traffic is, what is it? It's just giant freeways everywhere. I'd like to hear it if you want to tell me what you thought the difference is. There's a surfer girl that lives at this house. I see her maybe every 2 weeks. She's got an electric bike she keeps in her garage. Because that's my car right there. Sometimes I see her cool van. Ram 350 camper van. Crazy seagull tornado. See that? It's a bunch of seagulls riding the currents, air currents up there. I've never seen anything like that.
All right. All right. It's been a Wabi-Sabi day for sure. Let's see. It's been a heck of a week as well. So I got a lot done at work. Very productive week. Met all my goals that I wanted. Felt like I really did live up to some of the more professional standards that I'm holding for myself. Definitely tired of living in America. That's probably today's the first day I think I'm saying that. I'm ready to go. I've had enough of this place. I told you, Miko, the other day, I said, I'm ready to go. I don't mean that as an extreme like reaction or anything like that. I think I've had enough of this place. And that's not me reacting like fed up or anything like that. It's a deliberate, considered response. I guess that can happen, huh? I saw a comment go by. Said, oops, something about most streets you live to pull over traffic by. I don't know if it's the same here. You have to pull over to let traffic by. Huh, no, I guess we don't. You're talking about in England, right? You have to pull over to let traffic by. Well, I guess not. There's lots. I guess this is a pretty average street. I guess you can just park on the road. Hopefully I'm understanding it right. But what I'm gonna do now is sign off and start the Wabi-Sabi weekend with my lovely wife. We've got dinner. We're gonna watch a show tonight, something fun, and then go to sleep. And tomorrow I got a lot of stuff to do. Just do it. So take care.